Good morning and welcome to the Capital Gang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and the studio this morning is full of some young people because Monday is the International Youth Day. But let's start with Honorable Semoju, who is not that old. Honorable
Oscar, my children are at the university.
Doesn't make you old.
You can produce someone. I
beg your pardon.
He started at 14.
Yeah.
That man is in Chazanga.
No. So 2 of my children are now at the university. So I am an old man.
Yes, so again, I usually start these programs by asking you what madness has befallen you. So you have another spell of madness. There's been reports that you wish to start a political party. So same question, what madness has befallen you?
Where were you, Oscar? See, this is a story of more than a year now. The disagreement we have had with our colleagues
of Najana Nkumbi and Katonga.
We thought it is useless to continue boxing each other. Yet we should be boxing off on upon. So the safest way of doing it is to peacefully leave Najana Nkumbi and then form another front and continue with the battle. So this is something that has been forced on us by Ofono Pondo's boss, now developing a habit and appetite of taking over other parties from UPC to DP, now FDC. So really we thought as adults it doesn't pay to continue fighting over Najana Nkumbi. So the decision is as a result of that. Yeah.
It has been done before. Mr. Mugisha Muntu General Mugisha Muntu tried to do the same and does not seem to have been successful.
Yeah, but you see, there is a problem that it resolved immediately, because I was the chairman for Muntu's campaign, where the only element that was missing in those campaigns was violence. But the verbal violence was too much. But also the issues on which we disagreed. While the Amriat at that time, the campaign was that we don't want a headquarter armchair politics. We want to be on the street. That's what that was the main content of Amriati's campaign. Although I have never seen him on any street. General Moon said, no. We should focus on constructing political infrastructure from a village to Kampala. So the disagreement ended up in favor of Amriat. And Muntu, I think at that time it was important for him to continue doing what he wanted to do elsewhere. The same decision that we have taken. Because just imagine if Muntu remain and you spend the next 2 years fighting.
Okay, we will have a discussion.
So on August 19th, we take that decision formally, having moved around the country, checked on the health, but also on the feeling of many of the people who are with us.
Okay, we shall invite you here on August 24th to review your successes and challenges.
Pondo will not deploy tear gas and Chibok like they did last time. Simple civic activity, and you were met by police and military.
You have also been busy. I saw you posting that your work on Capital Gang is voluntary and you're doing a lot more farming. I've seen, Semoju and I have seen your brand new pickup. Congratulations on that one. Is it a toy or a farming tool?
First of all, do you doubt that Capital Gang is voluntary?
For you?
Did you have to say it?
But now
and for Ofono Pondo, is it voluntary?
Yeah.
You are the government spokesman. For Katesia, it could be voluntary.
But you don't pay me to come here.
Government pays you.
Anyway.
Yes.
I don't need to belabor that point. I just
Indeed.
say 26 years on the gang. I think I've done my bit. I need to move on. But I will.
Do you ever say those things elsewhere?
I will ease out.
Speaking in Semoju's voice.
No,
do you ever say those things elsewhere?
You need to remember, Oscar, when Mr. Museveni moved the term limits, the official document of the then movement secretariat that Ofonopondo and other directors after research did was that we should not remove term limits. So he does.
So anyway, thank you, Oscar, for the, I hope it is genuine congratulations.
Always. Always.
A brand new pickup. Yeah, I'm preparing for my retirement, for my farming activity. So I did it.
It should be a tractor, not a pickup. A pickup actually someone preparing to be moving.
Even the tractor is coming.
To be moving all over the country.
The tractor is coming. I'm now in both Toro and Kapelebiong, in a place called Alunga Mosmos in Kapelebiong. I'm doing quite well. 1 year now. I'm doing what I should say. I've just harvested the first crop, nuts, sim, soya beans.
Congratulations.
I'm big on trees now.
Congratulations.
I hope I should be graduating into livestock.
Your lifestyle, the jacket, trousers, shirt, hat, you're looking good. Those ones I know you didn't buy. Those ones your daughters are usually the ones who buy them.
By the way, look good. The other weekend I was receiving guests from Toro. I'm giving away the third girl. I will be inviting you in April next year to Mulanda again. I hope this time Semujo and Katesh turn up. They don't avoid coming to Mulanda.
We will come.
To receive the Watoro.
So Katesh, most welcome to Gang. We haven't seen you in a long while, Katesh. Good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you very much. Happy to be back. Yes. I have been quite busy.
Yeah, I usually read about you on social media. Either they've arrested you or they're attacking you or you're giving away money. So
no, I have been in Shema focusing on my role as an MP, mobilizing our people. But also I've been focusing on my business, private business. Because as you know, we had recess. So during recess, there is no need for me to be idle, and yet I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did promise to have a gang in the park, so yes. Towards the end of year, I will contact you and we'll organize that so that it happens.
Yes.
Okay, so we have International Youth Day on Monday, 12th of August, and in the studio I have Dr. Amongin, Dr. Dina Amongin, an academic researcher. You're most welcome to the Capital Gang.
Thank you,
Dr.
very much.
Amongin.
Thank you very much for having me.
Fantastic. Then I also have Micheline Mutuzo, a youth representative. I hope I've pronounced that name right.
You have. Yeah. Thank you for having me too.
Yes. I saw you posting on social media that you are going to Kogera Oluzungu. So we've all been waiting for the English on Capital Gang. And I've seen already you've tackled in English. So we look forward to your contributions.
Thank you. I look forward to it too.
So what does International Youth Day mean to you, Dr. Amongin?
Sorry?
What does International Youth Day mean to you?
It's really a time for all of us to reflect about what really matters to our countries, and that is the young people. And it's most important in Uganda, that has majority of the population actually being the young people and the children. Yeah, so that day is very important for us to really sit back as a country, reflect, and try to review what we've done. Are we on course? Where do we want to go? And what can we do to get us to where we want to go? Yeah.
The young people in Uganda are very many. So the statistics show, recent survey shows that they are the majority.
Yep, huge.
Yeah,
huge.
But their concerns, your concern does not match their concerns. You know, all this Gen Z and all those businesses. So whereas you might be thinking of good things, are they also thinking of good things like you?
I can assure you, every young person would want to be like Honorable Semunyunganda. They would also want to be like Mr. Ofonopondo. At the end of the day, every young person aspires to become a leader in future. I can guarantee you that even if you get a 3-year-old today and you ask them, they would want to emulate somebody who is successful out there. So when we have people like Mr. Ofonopondo, many young people would want to step up to his level, and therefore we need to see that we give those young people the opportunity actually to get there. Uganda, you're a very influential person. They want to get there.
Fondo has only become useful in old age. When he was youth, he was useless.
Honorable,
you don't need to respond. You don't need to respond to that one. Don't worry about responding to those ones. others will respond to those ones, but there's no need for you to respond.
Young people insulting the older people.
So, Micheline, a youth representative, you're asserting that teenage pregnancy is very high in Uganda.
But we need a proper introduction. Youth representative of
what? Youth council.
I think youth representative is the wrong word. I'm just youth.
Correct it.
Yeah. I'm just that.
You are a youth on Kaptogang.
Yes.
Okay.
So
how and why did you join the crusade on averting teenage pregnancies?
First of all, I just want to state that I'm not asserting that teenage pregnancies are high.
Okay.
It's right there. It's happening. It's not in my head. I'm not asserting it. If you look at the statistics, I'll just give you a little bit of that. As of September 2021, 290,000 teenage girls were getting pregnant. That means...
Whose statistics is that?
UNICEF.
Okay.
That means every month we have 32,000 girls getting pregnant. Every day, 1,066 girls. I will break it down further to every hour we have 44 girls getting pregnant in Uganda, not anywhere else. So it's not me asserting. It's happening. We are registering these girls, and I think they are more.
What age group are you looking at?
13, actually 10 to 19. 10. We have girls giving birth at 10 years old in Uganda. So it's not an assertion. It's a fact. It's happening. So if we are not concerned, something is wrong. So if I look at these numbers, I should think to myself, like, okay, someone has to speak. Someone has to talk about these things. Someone has to bring these things to our leaders' attention.
Go on. Keep going.
Oh, thank you. So that is why I am here today.
Okay. And what's your message here today?
My message is, I didn't know I would be with OO in studio, so that my message would be, we need to do better as a country, as the government, as us, as Ugandans. We need to do better for the children that are going to be our future. I am a mother. I have a daughter, a 6-year-old daughter. I would want her to grow up in a better country. I don't want to keep worrying about, oh my God, she could get pregnant in 4 years at 10. I don't want to sleep at night and keep thinking this could happen to my child. So I want us to do better as a country, as Ugandans, especially the government. Yeah.
But back to you, to Dr. Amongin. Well, these statistics, how do they relate across Africa? How do they relate across because it's International Youth Day?
Yes, thank you so much. So you find that in what we call, I don't want to say Africa, because there is a different part of Africa, the northern parts. I'll talk about sub-Saharan Africa. They tend to be similar, but then Uganda is closer to countries like Niger and the rest, with the youngest populations in the world. So our story is much worse. Slightly lower in Kenya. Our neighbors have lower statistics, better. Okay, they protect their young people, their girls, better. And so Uganda is racing high up there with the leading countries like Niger in terms of teenage pregnancies. Let's be specific, teenage pregnancies. Because here our law is 18 years and above. You know, it's okay for someone to get married or maybe have their children, but we are talking about what we consider as the minors. These teenage pregnancies are really rocking our country to the negative and taking us really behind. So we are similar to some of the countries, but a good number have already gone past Uganda. in the last 25 years now, we've not shifted from the proportion of our girls, teenagers who are getting pregnant. We've not. In 30 years, we began UPE, we began USE, we enacted the law against defilement of the girl child. But after the year 2000, we have stagnated as a country, and it's getting worse. And yet everything else about Uganda is getting better. Or is here. We are getting better. But then, for the teenage pregnancies, no, you're not shifting. So where is our problem as a country? Where are our priorities as a country? Where are we leaving the teenagers, the teenage girls behind when we are saying our GDP, everything else is moving forward, Honorable Samunyonganda is forming a new party, everything is moving forward. But teenage pregnancies in our country have stagnated.
But let me put it to you, Micheline.
Yes,
you are both of you are skirting around the issue.
Yeah.
You should be saying that young people are having sexual intercourse. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Why
That's
not?
not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
How do they get pregnant?
I'll give you a sad example. There's no 10-year-old.
Are they getting pregnant by osmosis?
There's not 10. I think when you say having sex, that's basically you saying it's consensual, right? And out of the girls that are getting pregnant, a very, very small percentage is getting pregnant out of their own will, that they went and had sex. 18. There's no 10-year-old that is getting pregnant because they had sex willingly. There's no 15-year-old. Even if they are 15 and they have that sex willingly, they don't know exactly what it is they are walking into. I have seen cases where there's a 30-year-old having sex with a 15-year-old. And their reason is, but she said yes. As a 30-year-old,
it's illegal. Even if she says yes, that's illegal.
Absolutely no way. Even if the girl said yes to the sex,
it would be illegal.
It's you, the 30-year-old, that should be saying that is not supposed to happen. This is not supposed to be happening. But there's a 30-year-old man having sex with a 16-year-old because she looked old. She looked mukulu. Because her body looks bigger than 16. So they are not having this sex because they want to, or because they enjoy it.
Dr. Mingin talks about defilement here.
Yeah.
But are you saying all these figures are coming from defilement? All these figures are coming from lack of knowledge? All these figures are coming from inducement? Surely there should be some responsibility somewhere.
No. If you're asking me...
No, I'm asking you.
There is no 17-year-old. I know they understand it's sex, but at 17, as a girl, you're not thinking straight well enough for you to actually make that decision.
True.
It doesn't matter whether you said yes. It doesn't matter whether you came onto the man. It doesn't matter whether you were putting on a short skirt and you apparently seduced a man. It is not consensual. It is not right. It is the 30-year-old, the 28-year-old that is supposed to be telling you, this is wrong, you're not ready, you're not supposed to be doing this. If you are 20-something and you're having sex with a 17-year-old, it doesn't matter if they said yes. It doesn't matter if they consented.
Micheline, you're right. It's illegal anyway. But what I'm getting at is, then where do these numbers come from? So... and what are you doing? Shouldn't you be promoting education?
We are promoting the education. We are talking about these things every day. Please don't get pregnant. Please, if a man comes on to you, please say no. But Oscar, there is no one as conniving as an older person. I don't want to just say man because people will take it out of context. But there is no one as convincing as someone that wants to have sex, as someone that is attracted to you and they want to get you into that bed. So as much as we are talking and spreading this message, please don't have sex, please abstain and all that, eventually it will come down to that single man that has the opportunity to tell this young girl.
Micheline, for you blame the men.
Very much so. Very much so.
Katesh, before you come on, I don't know. Let's go back to Dr. Amongen here, and we look at what do you have? Well, what is in place? I know in Uganda we don't like contraceptives for teenage children. I don't know what kind of education is offered for teenage children. Isn't that where you need to start looking at first?
Okay, thank you so much. Now, let me put it this way first. These children or these girls live in a community. They belong to a family. There is a school environment. There is the environment of their peers. There is the national system where we have the legislation and all those issues which are supposed to protect them or not. The issue is we have to look at factors or areas beyond this individual girl herself. What are those forces that operate around her to either protect her or actually make her vulnerable? Where is the gap in terms of the family level? Where is the gap in that community where she's growing up? What about the peers? What about the legislation in that nation? What are we affecting? So what I'm trying to say is this girl comes from an environment where there are forces beyond her control in many times. Remember, she is below 18. Her ability to make informed decisions is still developing, not yet mature, and that's why we call them the minors. We are supposed to protect them. Legally, we are supposed to protect them. Now, once some of those structures, the family, the community level break down, then you have challenges in there. Now, to deal with the issue of teenage pregnancy, to take away that vulnerability goes beyond the girl herself. Let's not look at the girl only as a girl, but look at the environment around her and all those things which are around her. So when we go to saying, what can we do to tackle teenage pregnancies? We need to ask ourselves, who are the players? And this is where we say teenage pregnancy is going to take a multi-sectorial approach for us to address it. We begin from the family level, where we need to step up the parenting. But importantly, do the parents know the messages that these children need? Are the parents empowered enough to talk to their girls and to the boys? I don't want to leave out the boys here, because you find in our recent survey, our demographic health survey, almost 18% of the boys have had sexual intercourse before the age of 15 years. 10% of our girls have had sexual intercourse before 10. By the time you talk about those below 18, 60% have had sexual intercourse below the age of 18 years.
Who's conducting these things? That research? This
research is by UBOS, and the results were released recently. All right? This is our Bureau of Statistics, which did this national survey. So let's not even leave out the boy alone, because sexual intercourse among the very younger girls, we have seen in our research, they actually have it mainly with their peers, boys who are 3 to 4 years age difference between them. So I don't want to leave out the boys in this. But why are our children having sexual intercourse very early? Get down to the family. COVID told us that the children were instead safer in school than when we locked them up in their homes with their parents. We had a lot of chaos in there. But beyond the family, the family determines whether this girl will continue with the school, be in school, continue with school, and actually have the requirements to remain in school. So once the family is so impoverished to the point that they cannot supply these children their basic needs to be in school, remember, UPE, you're still making many parents to actually pay a lot. And in the process, the families are opting to keep the boys in, and we're having challenges. So the girls need small, little basic things, scholastic materials. And this is what's failing them.
Before I go to the question to you, so do we have wool over our eyes? Because the statistics you've given are very, very worrying, but these are not discussed by Katesh and Semoju in Parliament. We should be discussing this all the time. How come we're not? And the last time people talked about contraceptives, Parliament called them up and so on. So how come it's not in the limelight?
Thank you so much. And the honorables are actually here.
3 of them.
And we are very happy. I'm from Makerere University School of Public Health. and I do support Minister of Health as well. We are more than happy to actually sit with you, take you through this. UBOS has the statistics, UBOS did this, and they disseminated this information. But we are more than happy to actually engage. As Makerere University School of Public Health, as a Minister of Health, as obstetricians and gynecologists of this country, we are more than happy to actually bring this to the floor and engage further.
Ofonopono, how come Uganda has not been very successful with prosecuting cases of child marriage?
Well, a combination of many things.
Because that would help.
Starting with technical ability of the state to appropriately investigate, assemble the required evidence. The second is social. If you look at you are a man of Kampala, you don't live in our villages, I live in a village. Take any sexual, what you would call sexual offenses in our villages. The parents, the relatives, the community will most likely opt to settle amicably if a boy is accused of having sex or even impregnating a young girl. The parents are most likely going to ask for a goat, a cow, or ask the girl to get it, as long as the boy accepts to take the girl. Don't mind if he is able to look after her and the child.
Even if she's young?
Yes. And because of that, usually law enforcement, if parents have agreed, you want to back off. Especially, the state, you are one policeman, how much can you do? If the clan, if the family have agreed. Remember, in many of our societies, particularly in the rural areas, the girl is still seen as a source of income, wealth for the parents. So if the boy's side is willing to pay something, chances are they will let that pass. The other thing really is, people are talking about COVID. COVID is a recent phenomenon. But we have entrenched societal beliefs and practices that still militate against enhancing awareness among not just the girl, but the female gender. How many women, wives in rural areas, have power to make the ultimate decision about, first of all, their own lives, reproductive lives, and therefore even their own children. And then the economic issues. I previously worked in Lira and Gulu, say northern Uganda. I was controlling all the way from Moroto up to what is now Zombo. I was the investigations officer for the Uganda Human Rights Commission. That time, all the way from Moroto to Zombo, for lack of a better phrase, was a war zone. So we had had 20 years of war. Those 20 years of war created extreme vulnerability for families. If you are running away from Kony, how much can you offer protection to your children, let alone the young girl child?
There's also food security.
Food security and other things. How much can you do what the doctor here is saying, being able to keep your child in school and in safety? These days, if you go to any rural area in Uganda and you ask a man, a father, if they know where their girl child goes to school, 6 out of 10 men don't know.
Really?
Yes, you're in town, but go and make a survey. In rural areas, 6 out of 10 men don't know if their children go to school, let alone the girl child. If you ask the men if they know the name of the headmaster, they don't know. If you ask them if they know the name of the class teacher, they don't know. If you ask them if the child left home and went to school, if the child actually reached school, they don't know. So that's what we are dealing with. It's a very complicated situation. I'm now in Kapelebyong, like I told you. We are now in harvest, but also planting season. We are preparing garden.
Children are not going to school.
Children are not going to. Children are young children. The age they are describing, 10 and 16, are coming from a beam, for example, into Kapelebyong, which is also already vulnerable. They are coming to offer labor, daily labor, to earn a living. If you are like me, you have 50 acres to weed. The children come and they are crying. They want to earn this 5,000. Are you going to chase them away? Because you don't want to be caught employing
young
child labor.
Yeah.
Are you going to chase them away when the children are having tears rolling because they don't have what to eat? So you are caught in the catch-22. Should I chase this child, or should I allow her to work for some money? And you find
No, you give her the money and she goes away.
well, then you are not a businessman if you are working. So anyway, I'm talking about the catch-22. So in many of these areas, these are the complications. Are we having the discussions? You have said the parliament. I have not heard. I think we have a committee on child.
You know, Parliament recently spoke
there's a forum.
When someone...
I think the discussion is there, but is not sustained as should be. But also, I think it is not coming up with viable solutions. I've just given you that case of do you chase. Even here in Toro, where I am, I'm having about 14 acres of coffee cottage. That's a new crop there. Now, when the children come to the garden, you want them to bend coffee. Are you going to send them away? You have women who come to the garden with children, 2 children or 3 sometimes to your garden. They come with a 1-year-old child strapped on her back, but she also comes with a 3-year-old who's going to take care of this 1-year-old as she's digging. Then she has a 6-year-old who has also come with a small hoe to help her finish her katala. What are you going to do? Are you going to send this woman away when she has brought her 6, 7, 8-year-old to your garden? So all those things complicate the affairs of helping, of offering effective protection and guidance to the girl child.
Honorable Semuju, and welcome to Honorable Lydia Wanyoto Mutende onto the gang. Very smart morning you are today.
Is there Lydia isn't smart?
That's a very good question.
Sometimes she wears bright yellow.
But yellow is also very smart. Good morning to you, Oscar, and to the listeners. I bring you greetings from Bale and Bugisu. From the 1st of August, we began officially to launch the circumcision season. Every even year, we initiate our younger people. I'm now linking this to the Youth Day. So in my community, we initiate young boys, young men to become men. And this year, the launch was on the 3rd, last Saturday, but it began on the 1st with the dinner launch and planting 1 million trees in our Elgon sub-region. Now, today, as I speak now, they've given us a calendar. It's in my own village, in Abweya, Lumumba village, Bukonde, Sabu-County, all where I come from. Today is our day for initiating the young people who are on holiday.
Good luck.
Or who are not in school. Then those in school will do theirs during the holiday. So I want to wish all our people well, our young people.
Good luck
as we prepare for Soroti on Monday.
Thank you.
In Ibugis, we have our own youth program in terms of initiating younger people.
Sierra Leone enacted the Prohibition of Child Marriage Bill in 2024. One of the things that is very interesting, when they take people to jail who participated, they even take the wedding guests to jail. If you've engaged in that child marriage.
So do I know that the wedding I'm attending, the couple is
maybe
young?
You see them straight away and you think they are young, because if you are at the wedding, they also they take you to jail. But having said that, the research from the World Bank showed that in Uganda, if every girl got to S4 and completed S4, that this would help the girl child in Uganda and would also improve Uganda's productivity. I don't know if you ever came across that statistics.
I haven't, but if you allow me, Oscar, on Thursday, the Minister for Youth and Children Affairs,
Dr. Balam.
Is he a doctor?
I think he's a doctor.
No. I just want to know. I didn't know he was a doctor.
Not medical.
Yeah.
Academic, I think.
Baram.
Yes.
Okay, the minister. Let me call him by his name because the others I don't know.
You're doubting the doctorate.
Baram Balugahare Atenyi made a statement to Parliament about the International Youth Day, which will be in Soroti, and Mr. Museveni, as usual, will be the guest of honor. The content of his statement did not deal with the youth issues. Because the purpose of this day was to bring the youth issues to the attention, I think, of everybody. His focus was on what the NRM has done for the youth livelihood program, Emyoga, what. Of course, I reminded him he's new in Parliament as an ex-official that these things you are presenting were actually in a policy statement. And the Speaker said, please forgive him, he's new. But the point is, even this day in Uganda, if you did the survey, I don't know how many youth, first of all, know it exists, how many youth think it is of a value to them. So it becomes a day for NRM to have a very big rally in one of the regional cities. And I think the majority of people who are attending are going to be senior NRM leaders and mobilizers and everybody. So if you did a count, I think there will be maybe about 10% of the youth. So the rest are going to be the NRM leaders politicking. But specifically this issue of the child pregnancy, by the way, we have 5 youth MPs in Parliament. I don't want to accuse them, but I don't remember the last time they presented a motion or even a statement about youth issues. Because the tendency in Uganda is to provide an opportunity for someone, claiming that this someone is representing a community behind him, even when it's just an opportunity to take a turn in coming to Parliament where they pay fairly well. In fact, if I had away all these affirmative action seats, whether women or not, I will just tell them to go home, because I don't see anyone pushing for the interest of the community that they come to represent.
No, the interest of avoiding child pregnancy.
You don't hear them say these things. But the point you made earlier, that if all children have reached senior 4, it will be one of the solutions. I think so, maybe yes and no. Partly because of the level of the level of competence, because you see there are children that are taken advantage, but there are also children that are extremely vulnerable. I remember sometime back reading a report, I don't remember whose report it was, and at that time I think Teso was coming number 1 in child pregnancy in Uganda. I'll try to Google to see which report it was, but the main point was vulnerability, that people in poor families, many of their children will either get married or will be made pregnant at an early age, because the men will take advantage, because you'll be the one helping with the necessities, and therefore you take advantage of that. But the parents themselves cannot protect the children. In fact, many of them will look the other side, because the child is able to bring something into home. So that is the point that was in that report, that the level of vulnerability. And if you go back to government statistics of 2 million children in primary school every year, and then
the dropout
1.3 million not completing P7, it speaks volume about the level of vulnerabilities in the country. Oscar, I have said many times, these things don't even need the National Bureau of Statistics. I have gone to my village where I was born. You give someone a loaf of bread and they are going to pray for you. A whole family will congregate to pray for you because you have provided one loaf of bread, which is 5,000. One time I went to a village market with 50,000 and I bought the whole market. I left everybody going home, from avocado to everything. The thing they brought were of 3,000. So when I gave them 50,000, so the market became empty. By the time I drove away, everybody was going home. So just imagine that sort of a village. So the level of vulnerability is even expressed by the parents. You will see it. So yes, the awareness that the doctors are involved in will help, but I think broadly these things can maybe progressively stop
Yeah.
when we reduce the...
One of the producers here has found the information for you. This is not too long ago, October 2023, when early child marriages cast a dark shadow over Teso sub-region. And one of the responses, government responses to allow such children to go back to school.
So the points of honor made I take my children to school. Many times I go to pick them. So my father produced 46 children. My mother alone is 16. So I don't think so. Production of children. So the parents will not care. You are too many, even if you wanted to care. So how would you take care of 46 children? It's simply not possible. But progressively things are reducing because we are producing 46. None of us has 10 children, including my elder brothers. So progressively, I don't think it will be government intervention. It will be other factors beyond the borders influencing. People have.
Let's go to Katesh now. Do you see some of these things in your constituency, Katesh?
First of all, Oscar, this problem is not a Ugandan problem. Globally, in April 2024, the World Health Organization.
I thought you were going to speak like a true NRM person, and then you
Since
say
1986.
No.
That's how they will begin.
In 2024 April, WHO released
1986.
Released the report, and in that report, they indicate that in 2021 there was 650 million child brides across the globe. 650. And in the same report, they indicate that 120 million girls aged under 20 years had been subjected to sexual violence. So we are discussing here this matter, but I think we need a proper analysis or study about the causes, because some of them have been raised here. Issues of poverty, of course, poverty creates a lot of vulnerability. And in situations of hard economic times, usually, it is usually the women and the youth that are more vulnerable. We saw it during COVID in my own constituency. I saw situations which were quite sad. But there are other issues. The sexual violence we've talked about, crime. So the issue of security, securing the population, very key. Moral or peer pressure. So, you know, my young sister here was talking about men, going with young girls. But I asked her a question, that if a 17-year-old boy has sex with a 16-year-old girl, can't she get pregnant? It can't happen among the same age group.
It happens a lot, actually.
So the issue of peer pressure, you also have to deal with it. In other countries where crime, wars and conflict are common, of course that becomes a big issue. But the other key issue which you must deal with, Oscar, is the issue of this cultural thing, the cultural aspect, where people look at young people, especially girls, as source of wealth, and so they will marry them off even when they have not yet been prepared already. And so that is something that we have to deal with. And I think we are looking forward to the International Youth Day. Let's see what kind of statements or initiatives will be talked about, because it's not enough to say what we have done to the youth, for the youth as a government, but what are we doing? How are these statistics? We know, for example, how polio was reduced over the years, the 6 killer diseases. So how is the situation? How is the trend regarding the issue of child pregnancies? I want to give an example, and I know my boss, he told me this story. Even if I say it on radio, I think he won't mind. Thomas, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, in his constituency, he sponsored I think, two children, the vulnerable children, paid them school fees all the way up to university. And when they graduated, I think they had like a period of 1 year without jobs. So when he was addressing the community, the community engagement, the father of those children stood up and said, you have done for us nothing. And you have done for us nothing. So then he said, but you old man, I just paid for your children fees all the way up to university and they graduated. You know what the man responded to? Said, they wasted time. If they had not gone to study, they would have brought here Bakamwana, they would have brought wives. I would be having many wives around. So you can imagine that kind of thinking among the people. So that is a very big issue. And now, coming back to my last point, lack of productivity is a very big problem. Right now, the European Union Parliament on 23rd of April passed a labor regulation which prohibits products made with forced labor, including child labor, from being exported to the EU under the GSP rules, the generalized scheme of preferences. Especially so they want to see Ofonopondo's coffee.
That this one was produced.
They have put in traceability. They are going to have in companies to do traceability certification. So they want to see Ofonopondo's coffee. Has he ever employed a young child below 17?
Is in trouble.
And can he export? And I remember when we were in Europe, I was in EU with the Deputy Speaker on parliamentary diplomacy. We discussed these issues and said, you are going to impoverish developing nations because some of us are byproducts of what you would call child labor. But if I had not gone to milk the cows before I go to school, I would not have gone to school. So if you come with this kind of radical approaches without understanding, an idle child who is at 16 years being left at home, and for you go to the coffee and he stays alone, and because you cannot take him to the coffee garden when he's on holiday, he's more vulnerable than if you actually carried him along.
Lydia, you're the powerful person in the studio, member of SEC. The topic today is how can
Presidential advisor.
Presidential advisor.
When Lydia was appointed, the president said she was on a list of senior presidential advisor, and the president said they will be assigned later. I don't know if she has now been assigned.
But you'd have seen me in the policy statement, and you don't know approves. You want to be like this. Don't read.
No,
policy said no, but the policy
didn't read.
But that is not the topic.
Policy statement.
Honorable Semunyu, that's not the topic.
You always accuse people not for reading because by now you know that all senior presidential advisors are in policy statements.
Lydia, as a powerful person. How can you help to curb teenage pregnancies?
So, yes.
How can you help to curb teenage pregnancies?
I would like, first of all, to congratulate the young people of Uganda upon their day that is coming on Monday in Soroti. I would wish to be there, inshallah, so that I support the cause of young people. I was once young, but now I have young people I look after. That said, on issues of child pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, I want to start with the issue of parenting. Really, I listened to the young people in the studio talking about the responsibilities of government. There is no government that is going to conclusively solve the problem of young people. It's a collective responsibility, and the back ends with parents and guardians. In our African culture, really, even in Uganda, it is just a new phenomenon that you'll find. It's only in the developed countries where you find the homeless. In African culture, we never have the homeless. Somehow, somebody have a community where they come from. And even these children who are in the streets, like today in Kampala or in Mbale, I come from Mbale, we have the phenomenon of street children. During COVID, we suffered because we had to get them out of the street because the country had closed. So what am I saying? The buck ends with parents. If every parent took care of their children, that will reduce by 50% the challenges of teenage. Then we segment the others that are vulnerable, those that are orphans, those that are on the streets, so that we are able, we need to like do by elimination. But if my child, I am alive, I am not dead, I'm active, and my child is exposed to the same vulnerabilities to those that are supposed to be looked after the state, then why am I a parent? Because sometimes parents come to and lament and want to leave the whole responsibilities to the government. Government has a big role to protect wananchi, the nationals, but also their property, and to put in place policies and laws. More than ever before, we now realize that laws and policies are not enough. They can be abused. It is high time that our children become part of our hand luggage. First thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, even when they're in boarding schools. Then government can take a second role or a complementary role.
But OO says those are Kampala things.
And even in the villages, what OO has said is correct. Many mothers in the communities actually, and I'm very impressed by the Loro women, she will have a pregnancy, the child is in the stomach, but there is one on the back and one who is holding the cloth for the one. Then when she goes to the garden, the small one will babysit the other. But the children are within her eye, her vicinity. So for me, I think that the back ends with the parents. And on the children below the age of 5, if you're a mother, that role, it's your burden.
Okay.
You cannot really get the role of the mother. Yes, we have UPE, that's the government contribution. But there's a person called a teacher. But the connection of the teacher and the child at UPE is the parent and the teacher and the school management committees. The community, we have the whole structure. Uganda has the biggest leadership positions. Over 4 million people are leaders, from LC1 structures up to the president. All these are leadership structures, but where are our children? When I hear about, and then finally, just 1 second, finally, I heard about the talk about the teenage pregnancy. The campaign has to change the narrative, because we have to run away from this issue of sounding like stigma. Times have changed. If a child has become pregnant below the age of 16, we have to emotionally support them. They deliver, they go back to school, and we take it on from there, because this is not the end of the world. Because this stigma campaign can also cause them to hide and to be in more trouble and to be exposed to more complications. That's my take on this.
Okay. Back to you, Micheline Mutuzo. 2 things to you that you could focus on. One is from Lydia here, who says the buck stops with you, Micheline, the parent. Stop blaming the men and whatever.
No.
First carry, the buck stops with you.
What I said before.
In addition, and Seven, you gave us figures that are known anyway. The dropout rate at PLE is about 1.3 million. So how can you campaign for those 2 factors?
First of all, if you remember what I said it eventually comes back to the individuals, right? Not just government. It eventually comes down to you, the man that is trying to convince a child to have sex with you. It comes down to you. So yeah, it does come down to parents. We will talk to our children, don't have sex, but you know it. Kids will barely listen to their parents. So still,
many kids listen to their parents.
Barely. If you know, as a human being, you're very attracted to what is forbidden. If your parent is telling you every day don't have sex, you now really want to find out why, what is the sex, why. So it comes down to you as a man to say, no, you can't have sex, or this is wrong, this is not supposed to be happening. OO talked about mothers coming to work with their children. I think it is very disappointing that you will watch a 6-year-old dig in your coffee plantation and you don't tell them to go to school, unless you as OO, you do not believe in the UPE
go to the microphone.
Unless you don't believe in the UPE education you're providing. I was reading something the other day. You pay 6,000 something for every student, for every pupil in primary. That is horrible. you need to do better. You can't tell me that you're seeing a 6-year-old just because the mother came with them and you're like, oh, it's okay, mnange. Your mom came with you to dig as well or look after your 1-year-old and you're okay with it. You're not supposed to be okay with it. They need to go to school.
To be fair, he didn't say he's okay with it. He said there's a dilemma.
He's comfortable if he's not
he
telling them
to leave. He wasn't speaking like about himself, but giving a scenario.
It did.
Yes.
It is, but we need to do better.
So that was one, and the focus on parents and the dropouts. How are you campaigning for that?
We can talk as much as you want.
Dropouts.
We can campaign. We can beg kids to stay in school, but at the end of the day,
one way of staying there. Let me tell you my personal story. I used to go and carry matoke when trucks are in the village to buy books. So tell me,
that
do I stay home, or you carry matoke from the garden to the main road and get money to go and buy books?
I was coming to that.
Conclude on that one, because I want to go to Dr. Mungin.
You keep saying reality,
yes.
But me, I will fault it back to government and government policies. You're giving 6,000 to a UPE child. You've not given this child a book. You've not given them a pen. You've not given them a pencil. You know the poverty levels in this country. People can barely afford food. They will not choose a book over food. So we all, as the government, things need to be done better.
Okay.
You need to really do better by these children.
That's a big discussion, but
Government, unfortunately, collapsed long ago.
But Dr. Mungin, I want you to close this discussion.
Yes, thank you.
And closing a discussion in your comments, talk about the dropout, because if you got a girl child to get to S4, that would
exactly.
make your campaign a lot better.
Exactly.
But also, what Semuju raised, you need to find Dr. Balam Barugahari, the Minister of Youth and Children, to also join your campaign. Katesh wants also to add on.
Maybe just to add on, I think you are coming from Makerere. You probably need to enlighten us. There is
There's not enough
study
time for that.
When you look at children starting from primary 1, if there are 100 girls and 100 boys, by the time that class moves to P7, more than 50% of the girls have dropped out, while the boys are still. So there are certain things that probably need to come out so that the demand by this young lady of government to do much is more focused on the solutions.
Well,
Yes, thank you so much.
Kind of mention those things. Yes. Go on, Dr.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes,
My daughter over there, Michelle, I use the phrase being in catch 22. Does that sound familiar to you?
It's an old phrase.
Yes. If
between what is there between a rock and
if you're a realist, you're on the ground like I am. I'm not a superficial in town. A woman has come to your garden. They are looking for charm, just food for that day. Do you chase her with the children, or do you say, okay, do moderate work, I pay you go and work, in the hope that the money she gets, she will buy food, but probably she will also pay medical bills for her child, or actually buy books.
Okay.
Where she's blaming you is that you are government. That's what she says.
No, and isn't she government?
No, she's Michelle
Am I? Am I?
Is not
If
government.
anything, you're supposed to be. I am. How do they call
If
that?
you don't, civics, basic civics.
No.
The
Now
people-
you're
No,
being
you-
I am not
government.
government.
She's
I
not
am not
government.
government. You
She's
are.
not government,
You
yes.
are. I can barely do anything about the situation. You can.
No, but that's
You
why.
can't.
That's why.
So
UPE, universal education. Let me say, universal security and protection.
That all
universal health care, especially primary care.
and Michelin, first stop and we conclude this topic.
All those are supposed to converge.
Oponopono and Michelin,
deliver-
first stop
to-
this
to
argument.
You can't
We-
tell
we
me you're
will-
providing good education at 6,000 per child.
Michelin,
I don't know how much
we
you
will
pay in
continue outside the studio.
Okay.
Dr. Mungin.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, OO and Michelle may not stop. Now,
They won't.
The key issue here, and we really need to face this. Are we keeping the children in school, these adolescent girls, or are we not? The dropout rate is very high, and as I mentioned earlier on, when parents are really stuck with being able to provide the basics to enable these children be in school, they will usually opt for the boy child to remain there. Or the boy child will go and struggle and survive doing casual labor, like Uganda, who said he was carrying matoke, and then he gets that money and pays or buys his scholastic materials. Remember, this girl is not even free away from household chores to go and do what Uganda would actually do, carry the matoke from the trucks. She has to be around the home to help her mother. She has to buy sanitary pads if she can. We saw the story about Busoga where the girls can't get pads and they're using sand somehow. Now, we need to see how to retain these girls in school. And we rightly know a girl who has even finished primary 7, just P7 like this to completion, will have fewer children, will be able to do better economically. So if you push them to S4, that is what we are looking for. Keep the pregnancies off, keep her in school. And
Okay.
in the unfortunate event that she gets pregnant,
sentence.
let's keep these girls in school. Let's have school continuation.
Dr. Amongin, final sentence. What would you tell Dr. Balam, the Minister of...
Yes. Thank you so much.
Semuju says he resigned.
Excuse me, Oscar allowed me to speak to Honorable Balam, the Minister for Youth and Children's Affairs. We need to come together and ensure that we keep these girls in school, adolescent girls. Those who get pregnant, we don't want any school sending girls off. We need to keep them in school for as long as she can continue with the pregnancy. She takes a break, goes to give birth, and she comes back to school. And we support parents to take care of that baby.
Very, very
and the religious leaders, especially the faith-based schools, we are calling upon them to see to it that you do not again hammer this girl who has unfortunately gotten pregnant under circumstances that she did not want by kicking her out of your schools.
Dr. Dina Amongin, thank you so much. Micheline Mutuzo, thank you so much for coming to Gang. Your voices have been heard. Let's stop for a break.
The Capital Gang on Capital FM with Uganda Martyrs University in Kozi. Making a difference. Capital Newsbeat, breaking the news first.
This is breaking news. We are being told that a heap of garbage that had accumulated into a hill-like structure has collapsed in Chitezi, that's in Wakiso district. The collapse has affected a number of houses, including people who are submerged under it and are now calling for help. A heap of garbage that had accumulated into a hill-like structure has collapsed in Chitezi in Wakiso district on houses, and a number of people are buried there and are currently calling for help.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. You'll hear a bit of background. We have discussed International Youth Day, particularly looking at abolishing teenage marriages, curbing teenage pregnancy. We missed you last week. We had a discussion on recent bank closures in Uganda, and I thought I'd give it a little bit more time, also finish the banking series, so to speak. You know, these exhibitions have taught us words now. So I put out a tweet there. What is good about your bank? What are your frustrations with your bank? And how can your bank improve? Mr. Ofonopondo, the farmer.
I think, generally speaking, the financial sector, the banking sector in Uganda, still think they are doing their clients or customers a favor. Two, without blaming them, on our side, we, the clients, how prepared are we? When you go to your bank, majority of us go to withdraw or to borrow. But when you are going to borrow, how prepared, particularly if you are doing business, could be farming, could be trade, could be whatever, how are your own books on which the bank is going to rely to deal with you? So there's a lot of things that we need to do in order to demand better banking services. Overall, today, I think there is a weak policy and regulation or even enforcement. Why would a bank in Tororo, in Kapelebyong, by the way, we don't even have one bank. Not one.
But you have money to bank.
Yes, we do.
For your bank.
We do. We don't have...
I mean, if he has trees to sell and so on.
Oh, those people sell cows. You see, is Soroti. Not even Amuria. So that's how... So the banking service is still scanty. Agent banking, I haven't seen one. We use mobile money there, or you use physical cash. I don't, for example, I don't know, I've not paid a lot of attention because I'm not a trader, so I don't borrow from the banks. Why would...
so people keep money under their pillow?
Yeah, you carry cash.
Okay.
You carry cash. Before I travel to Kapelebyong, I must pass by...
An ATM?
No, ATM or Housing Finance, my bank. I change my money. I ask them to give me 1,000 notes, 2,000 notes, maximum 10,000 notes.
But there are mobile money facilities there.
Yeah, but there's mobile money, but
you can hold your money on your phone.
you need to call the day before in order to withdraw 1 million shillings if you are going to pay workers. So it is not... please, Uganda, we have 3 Ugandans in one Uganda. In that respect.
Professor Sejaka has sent me a message saying, your visitor Mutuzo sounds like a planned kid.
Yeah.
Has she ever experienced the reality of a rural woman?
So,
and I've told him the problem is she has left the studio.
Yeah, I was saying, I don't know why a bank, for example, in Kaberamaido, let me just give an example, if they have a bank at all, a bank branch at all, why the rates, for example, for lending would be the same. I think Bank of Uganda has not, even the Bankers Association, they take advantage. They have not delineated the country or mapping, having different tiers for the different areas of banking. So that if somebody is borrowing, for example, from Kaberamaido, how are they treated? So in that respect, therefore, I think the banking industry is still taking advantage. They are taking over advantage of their clients.
If you try to borrow a development loan, it can take you 6 months, even from a commercial bank.
No, even for example, if you go to Tororo, I recently tried and I abandoned. I have a small property in Tororo town, and just to value that property, so that I get money, they took 2 months. By the time they said, now come for the money, I got disgusted and gave up.
By the evaluation, you had to pay for it.
And then they had to get somebody, I think they work in the cartel. The person who was coming to value property in Toro had to come from Masindi.
They work in cartel.
In cartel.
That's not a good word to say about
you can imagine
bank.
Property in Tororo, they can't find that a bank that didn't have somebody from Bari or Tororo, but they brought somebody from.
But there's no business. Who will stay in Tororo to value what?
Okay, so you can bypass Kampala and bring somebody from Masindi. That's okay then. So I'm simply saying, when you look at how they operate, they seem to be thinking that they are doing a favor to their clients, and I think that needs to, but that's not unique to the banking industry. I think generally businesses in Uganda, even when you go to an ordinary shop, go to a butchery and you ask for the part of the beef you want, the man will cut the knee of the cow. When you look the other side, he will throw for you the kneecap of the cow, the bone. And so you go to another butcher.
But these days we go to butchers that know us. So when they do that,
you go there, and then the man insists that he wants to give you offers. And say, no, boss, Your offers at 3 p.m. is getting rotten. Don't give it to me. Says, no, you have to take it. so we need to, in the business world, I think there's a lot of missing, not just the banking. And the talk of recent closures, there was a time when the president said, if a bank should be treated like a dead body that is decomposing, it should be closed. And I think as a result of that, there's some good behavior that has emerged out, that no bank can do business as usual expecting that it will be bailed out. The recent issue of Current Bank, don't mind how the courts handled. That bank was like an extortionist, where you go there, you want to pay your loan. From the stories we used to hear, you want to pay your loan, they dodge you so that they take the collateral you put. So
until recently, they'd charge you. There was a fine for it.
Yes. And the other day I was listening to someone saying he was talking to teachers. There's somebody called Kachika. He's a headmaster, I think, in one of the schools. He's also a farmer, and he was
he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, he was giving financial literacy talk to a group of teachers. And you teachers who don't have business, the only time you go to a bank is when you go to withdraw when your salary comes, or you go to check. But do you know that even when you don't have money and you just put the card to check, once your salary drops in, the first money deducted is the charge for checking your bank balance and things like that. And we're saying, he was then appealing to government and to those teachers saying, can we make, for example, our national ID a smart national ID, so that you can actually use your national ID to withdraw money from your bank account and things like that. So there are a number of things.
These are commercial things. But I know people were stuck because their money was closed with recent banks, and it is going to take them a long while to get money back.
Well, but I think that's catered for. There's initial money. Once the bank is closed, that Bank of Uganda gives you. And I think there's money that is under insurance, that when eventually matters are resolved, your money should be good. I don't know whether when the duration the bank is making money with your money they have kept, do they give you the interest? Do they give you
the information?
There's a hint. Katesh, you're on the microphone. No, they don't.
They don't, because if the bank has been closed and I have one,
and it was not your fault,
which is not my fault. You the Bank of Uganda, you have transferred my money to some other account. Probably you are loaning it to another bank to make a business with it. I should be entitled to get interest.
No, the problem.
Banking, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Oscar, just before I make a point on this issue, when the banks, the recent case of the bank that was closed, what I need to understand is that those who actually had outstanding loans, the interest is frozen, so they don't have to pay interest. So I would imagine that the same way, if the ones who had money there, since there is no transaction taking place with the money, they are not earning interest, maybe they wouldn't, the bank would not have interest to pay them. But
Katesh, they are very unhappy people because, for example, they can take your deposit today and then they close tomorrow.
Yeah, of course it disrupts. But I wanted to say generally, when you are doing business, if you want to borrow from the bank, Oscar, there are three considerations. How much do you want? The rate of return. If you have borrowed 1 billion and the lending rate is 20%, how much are you going to make to be able to pay the loan, but also survive? And of course the payback period. These are the basic principles. But the challenge has been that, and Ofonopondo touched it slightly, but not the banks we have in Uganda are not specific and tailored to certain businesses. Like if you go to China, You find China has got China Agricultural Bank, China Construction Bank, Industry and Commercial Bank, banks which are tailored to specific businesses. And when they are lending, they lend and treat clients in their unique, circumstances. Because I'll give an example. I remember, I'll not mention a bank, but when I was building my lodge, I borrowed money to build a lodge. To do the construction, plus another 6 months to do marketing. But you see, the banks will not understand that if you are doing a project in tourism, for example, you need this kind of flexibility. Same thing with the farmer. If you plant coffee now, Fonopondo, when will you harvest? If you have borrowed money and then you have to pay immediately.
My friend is very frustrated. The bank keeps saying, bring this document, bring this. Then he says, I gave it to you in January. I say, oh, someone misplaced it. I also have like a bank told me, come and we give you a Visa card. And then after having invited me, then they start saying, give me this, give us this, give.
I think they are all cousins, but
they are all twins, cousins,
all Siamese twins. But I think what you need to unpack for Uganda is that we have commercial banks that are openly on the market to sell their products,
also
like
looking
different
for
of loans. Yes, but we also have what they call government supported banks, which are meant to trigger or to stimulate development, financial facilities. And in Uganda, we have 4 government banks, which the Parliament of Ugandan government actually invests money. Uganda Development Bank is one of them.
Postbank.
But it's a cousin, like you'll also have to take maybe 2 years, 3 years to get a facility if you are lucky. There is also the agriculture facility, financial facility in the Bank of Uganda. I don't know whether OO was able to access that one because it has been there forever. Then even in the last 2 years, Oscar, there was a facility that was supposed to jumpstart small businesses out of COVID. What did you call it, Katesh? There's that money that's supposed to get small businesses out of the shock of COVID.
Small-scale relief something.
But to get that money, you can even walk until your shoes develop holes. It's very difficult to get a loan facility in Uganda, and then the regulations are very, very stringent. So I don't know how we are going to unlock the potential for people to do business using banking services and the products out there. Whether you are getting a short-term loan, a long-term loan, a loan without collateral, a loan with collateral, and what type of collateral. My campaign really, Oscar, now that you've asked me, is really siding with women. Until very recently, the biggest collateral were land titles. And very few land places in Uganda are titled because they are more like cultural lands owned by culture and perpetually inherited over the years. But now, very few areas have titled land, and in that, like a quarter of that percentage are women. Therefore, it goes by without saying that women are more disadvantaged in accessing loans because of lack of collateral. You must access it through maybe a spouse or through another party consent. So the story of loans and access to financial services in Uganda is a told, and that's why, in a way, that's why people would find it easier to maybe engage in deals and corrupt tendencies to access money, do business, than genuinely entering into an environment where you are hardworking, you are innovative, you are creative, and you're a go-getter. You get money, you are frugal with resources, and you make business. It's very difficult. The business environment in Uganda is extremely volatile, to say the least.
Yeah, your friend.
Did you invite Wilbrod?
I keep inviting him.
Is the president?
One of the banking association.
Yes.
But you know he's on the side of the banks, not on your side.
But so would want to challenge
he comes,
they would come and we challenge them because they have not set up.
He has been here severally, but you have to remember he's always on the side of the bank.
Yeah, that's why he's the chairman.
That's why he's chairman.
And we should come and we put it to him that they're not helping Ugandans.
We have severally.
To do that.
John Bijamano, OO's friend, he says, I'm annoyed with banks. Banks more than the fact that I trust them with my millions, and I have friends who have trusted them with more, but they won't even let me go to a toilet or a customer and so on.
For example, Oscar, there is a problem which most of people who have borrowed.
Paperwork, too much.
If you have borrowed and pressed your collateral as a property, every year the bank does valuation, and then you have to pay valuation fees all the time. This is I think we need to have a conversation. It would be been good if all was here to see, because if you are lending very high rates now because of increased borrowing,
everything about financials is very prohibitive. It's like they don't want you to borrow.
And yet they want you to borrow. You know, Honorable Semuju, because I work as a school manager, or teachers of Onopono talked about us. We borrow a lot. Every time there's a banking person who has come into the school looking for people.
Do you borrow more than MPs?
I don't know, but we you know, they are
the MPs at the beginning of the term, they just take their money, 1 billion, and they go and survive.
But they are always come to them. We are signing letters.
But banks come to them,
signing letters to them, banks and then it is a hassle.
You see, the salary loan.
Yes, salary
had a new window. They never used to lend money that way, and that will explain the issues that all of you are raising. The banks by themselves realize that you can actually lend money to people against their salaries, because in the past they were looking at different things, land title, this and that. They have not thought of many other windows, and for me I think largely because first you need to look at the non-performing loans in Uganda, and then see whether banks are going to be motivated, because part of what they are asking, traditionally there are things that they ask. Even when they come to you by themselves, they will come and entice you to get a loan facility, but then they will give you an outline of what you are supposed to
present.
I don't have any concrete information about it, but I think the government is resorting to over borrowing from commercial bank has given them comfort that they may not want to go and risk with businesses as Kateshu was outlined. Because you see, look, in the budget that we have just passed, government will pay interest to commercial banks of up to 12 trillion. Last year it was, last financial year it was 8 trillion. And this 12 trillion. That is the interest, not even the principal. That's the interest the government will pay to commercial banks. And what the government does, if they don't have money to immediately pay, is to renegotiate these loans and then incur more interest. So banks can now make money by actually not thinking like they thought of a salary loan, like they thought of farmers and so on and so forth. Until maybe part of the government has reduced on its vulnerability, something that will make money available. That's when banks may reduce the interest. That's when banks will want to go out to many other people. But at the moment, they are very comfortable. If all of them, the big banks now, the other day I asked NSSF, and NSSF told me nearly 80% of their investment is in bonds and bills. So they want to deal. So everyone who has money today in Uganda wants to deal with the government because it's safer. So the banks don't have to think like they thought. I told you, Oscar, I think the time I started working, that salary loan was not there. It came in later because the banks didn't have many people to lend to, and that's why they were thinking of one product after another. Now they have government, they don't have to think, and the government is still vulnerable because every year the borrowing from commercial banks is increasing. So I think the reforms in the financial sector may have to begin with government itself. So if government reduces the amount of money it takes from commercial banks and that money is available, all these conservative, because with the salary loans, I have seen our own experience at Parliament. They will call you, they will even find you in a garden to bring documents for you to sign, and they will tell you in 2 days money will be available. So you don't go through the same rigorous like other people do, maybe because of its safety, but also because I think there are many people in Uganda now who are borrowing against their salaries. So I don't see immediate reforms if government continues to be
a mortgage loan can be difficult to get, like Katesh was saying there.
I don't know whether housing finance is still even offering them, because at the beginning that was there.
But they tell you that they'll do it in an urban place. But all banks do. All banks can give you a mortgage.
But now it's a commercial bank.
Yeah, but banks have a lot of money, actually. The problem, like he has said, the preference now to lend is, especially if the return on investment is low, generally businesses are not returning much, they will opt for government securities.
Okay, we're going to stop for a break. A listener is telling me, who is that one taking porridge in the studio? So
it is a member of SEC. That's why they run swallowing.
We'll come back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. Let's go to parliamentary affairs with Honorable Semujuhi and Honorable Katesh, active parliamentarians. So you budgeted to go to Gulu and 2 other places beginning this month and spend 5 billion with Parliament on the move. So some members of the opposition are saying it is not wise to spend money in that manner. For you, Honorable Semuju, where do you stand?
I am Shadow Minister for Finance. The communication was mainly a communication of the opposition government. Even if I didn't agree with it, it is a position that I will take. The issue of money, I may slightly differ, because since then I've been trying to do some research around Parliament, including asking those who are responsible. And they told me what is going to happen is that the majority of MPs are going to be sponsored by their respective committees. I have also been told that committees are actually in the field, that those sittings will deal primarily with the issues from the area where you will be going. And that's why every committee that had a matter pending before it was dispatched to go to the region. So the setup will be a committee on local government to present issues of local government there. It is an innovation, one that I don't know what value it brings. But it's an innovation. I know from even the early administration, they always spoke about taking Parliament to people. Sometimes they would even bring people into parliamentary chambers, children, to begin debating. I have never attended the end of those debates of people who are brought in. I don't appreciate the value, and I'm not saying it is valueless, but it's a value I don't appreciate. But also, even in Kampala here, on a daily basis, you have about 100 MPs attending Parliament. More than 70% of MPs don't attend Parliament. Will they go to Gulu? Is Gulu easier than Kampala? Because majority, there was a time one MP entered and Kadaga was saying, who is that one? After 3 years. And
really?
Yes, she didn't know that the fellow entering was an MP. So the same faces is the same faces you will see here. Maybe they will be the same faces. Because before you take Parliament to people, why don't you take Parliament to the MPs themselves and they begin attending Parliament? Then you can think of taking Parliament to people. The other day I asked jokingly a friend, when the people wanted to come to Parliament, we chased them and barricaded ourselves. Now we want to go, we fled. Now we want to go and take ourselves to the same people. So it's an innovation. So those behind it, because there are many things.
I had not looked at it that way. So when the people wanted to come to Parliament,
we fled.
You took them to court.
Yes, barricaded ourselves.
And now you want to go to them.
Now we want to go to them. So those, there are many things about Parliament, playing football, popularizing Parliament, etc. I may not appreciate all of them, because maybe I am a traditional person who thinks of sitting in the chamber and make comments. But there are those who think we even have a whole department responsible for that, actually a directorate for public affairs. Maybe that's their job. So the trouble is that this particular visit has come against a background. When you are in the media accused every day of being
extravagant, having cash, all those things.
So even if it is a program that you had planned earlier, you may want to think about it in the general feeling and how people see Parliament. Because once people have mentioned the thing that have been mentioned about Parliament, you don't want to be adding on the list. Now you see them; they are going to spend money.
You
even
have
if
the other 1.7 billion.
And Parliament, by the way,
then leader of opposition says that he has not been to meetings, and then
Parliament by its nature,
and that hospitals and schools are needed.
Everything is controversial because you are like a god. People think you need to act exemplary. But everything about Parliament, whether they are buying you tea, mandazi in a committee room, whether it is an iPad. And I think those of us who are in Parliament, and particularly the administration of Parliament, need to be more careful when you are undertaking things that will further inflame the situation. Otherwise, I don't think the money is going to be an extra budget. It's going to be within the budget of Parliament.
But maybe at this point in time, not wise to spend it.
Exactly.
Okay. As we come to you, Honorable Katesh, says Levi Eyaru, who is always on Twitter, Ultra NRM, responds very quickly to any comments. This time round, he tells you, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, that fund is called Small Business Recovery Fund. But I must say it's a hoax. I had tried accessing it through the Equity Bank and failed. In Postbank, where I did valuation, still nothing. So, Levi Ayaru, I hope your banks have heard. Then Stephen Opeitum says government capitalizes UDB, and UDB invests in treasury bonds and bills. Probably that's not correct.
You need to say it. You need to say it. The government. I mean, UDB lending to government. That's what it means.
No, they make good money out of equity, out of the bills and treasury bonds.
Money to lend to the public, and then you lend the money to government.
Yeah, we'll have to bring Wilbrod to the gang. But
in that case, bring Wilbrod and Patricia Jangone of UDB. Because people are stuck in. I checked about 3 weeks ago. Nobody in Toronto, no business person, has qualified for that UDB money.
Katesh, on going to Gulu for Parliament.
Yes. Well, I think in the current circumstances, there is nothing that Parliament is going to do in the remaining 2 years that will be appreciated, because everybody seems to be negative about any initiative by Parliament. There is a lot of criticism we have been getting. People cannot even stand for LC1. They will come out and say this Parliament is useless. I think it's always important to understand. For example, I am made to understand that this issue of regional seating was discussed in the Business Committee of Parliament, where all chairpersons and their deputies, including chairpersons of opposition-led committees, were present. So the question of saying this is just coming from somewhere and it's not being discussed, people are not being truthful. It was discussed. At that point, I'm not in the business committee, maybe they could have questioned the motivation or the benefits. Number two, the debate should be about what is going to be discussed. What is on the other paper? If it is going to be focusing on issues of the region, I think we need to give it a chance. I understand there are many oversight committees which are already in the north, and there have been issues which have been coming from the region, and many other members don't even appreciate. People have never crossed Karuma. I remember when we went to bury the late Oranya, I traveled with an MP, and it was their first time to cross, Kafu. So perhaps people will be able to appreciate the region. But finally, the issue about money, I think, first of all, they are exaggerating about money. 5 billion, what? But even if it was 5 billion, are we going to spend it?
5 billion, it wouldn't be
okay,
good.
are we going to spend it in Mogadishu? Or it is going to be spent in Guru town? So for me, I think if 1 billion is going to be spent in Guru, so be it, as long as there is value in terms of the business we are going to discuss for the people of northern region. Then we can say, okay, this experiment is not worth it. Perhaps the other regions where they wanted us to go, maybe we can call it off. But at the moment, I think people should give Parliament some breathing space. You know
why?
And you know what? What interests me is that when it comes to
we want to give them breathing space.
I know.
You see the way he wants.
Everybody who bashes Parliament, you wait for the nominations. You know, you are going to have more. You are going to have more candidates wanting to go to Parliament, which they call useless, big, large.
Yeah, because Katesh is because you have 1.7 billion there. There's 1.7 billion. Then there's the other cash. There's what cash?
For me, I'm happy representing the people of Parliament.
Venture.
So when you say Parliament is useless, I'm not useless. Okay. So the generalization that Parliament is useless,
actually, no one has said Parliament is useless. Maybe only NAMFCA says. They just say that Parliament has a lot of money. And Katesh, the president of Uganda, has said Parliament is corrupt.
No, and actually, Katesh, on this show, there is an MP and a panelist, Honorable Semujo, who says that majority of members of Parliament shouldn't actually be there. In fact, he says they should be councillors. As if being a councillor should be useless.
They should be councillors.
As if in the local council is where we should have useless.
No, they are in the sub-county you are dealing with 100 million.
And for me, I think we should.
In the sub-county, that's when you're dealing with the real issues of the people.
The discussion should be about the requirements of a member of Parliament. Because because
even some members of Parliament are denigrating
this qualification of senior six.
Yes.
The qualification of senior six. Maybe we should start having a conversation, because you see, they are using that, and of course, everybody thinks that they can come to Parliament and do a better job.
Teachers are annoyed that you want them all to have degrees, and yet you want parliamentarians to be senior six.
I agree with them.
The senior six equivalent.
I agree with them. We should raise the bar. We should raise the bar, but we cannot fail to raise the bar.
Katesh, before you leave a microphone, because you are going to lead Lydia and then you have been informed. Please correct Katesh. Interest on loans in a closed bank is not frozen, but you can pay back the principal immediately without penalty or accrued interest. On the other hand, interest on deposits that are there is frozen. So your money, as always said, your money is held there and there's no interest on it.
The good thing is that I had already finished my facility with that bank, which closed, so just a week before.
Wow, you are the lucky one, but many are not the lucky one. Lydia, on Parliament going to Guru, you can see Kate says, okay, the money would be okay, but the leader opposition is saying, but let's Oscar, take that money there for schools.
Even all those things that you are going to take a youth international day in Suroti, and you spend about the same amount of money. So all those things need to stop.
No one talks about them. But if it was Parliament, everybody jumps.
So maybe avoided such Kubo signature was the beginning of Parliament looking bad. If that had been signed, that would be out of the way. But you gave it mileage of 2 months.
You can have that. Let me give you an example. When they talked about the cars for MPs, how much is it?
200 million.
A commissioner in government of Uganda who is bought a brand new Prado at 380 million. By the end of 5 years, the government would have spent more than 1.2 billion on that car, in servicing, in driver, in fuel.
On a new car?
Yes.
No.
5 years, I did a calculation. I was a commissioner, I had a car. But no one talks about it. But they will jump on 200 million to say,
but you see now, I want to advise Honorable Katesh. I've been a member of Parliament, so I'm so that because I want to take up a seat at Parliament. But I think appreciate the public expectations of the member of parliament who represents people vis-a-vis a technical officer who is paid by government and does not have a direct relationship with an elected leader. I really want to plead with members of parliament to develop a narrative that resonates with the expectations of the people, and either you tone down explain the expectations, but also you cannot begin comparing yourselves with. Just listen to me.
Go on.
I'm just requesting you, because you look bad. You actually worse in a situation because you woke up one morning and Shema people elected you. They look at you, not the commissioner. Actually, they want you to protect them from the commissioner. If they are anybody that the public expects protection from, is not the commissioner or director of a government department. They expect to be protected by members of parliament. I don't know if I'm speaking what you understand. So please don't now join competing with directors, with the MDs to frustrate people. No. People of Uganda, where I sit, expect members of parliament to be more frugal and squeeze directors and commissioners to align themselves to being more frugal to the country's resources. Why? Because one, they think you are their representatives, and I think I'm right. Two, they want you to speak the voice of their people against any excesses. Now, your narrative, even this morning, is like you want to join those that do the excesses. Who is going to protect the people? I thought it was members of the elected leaders. So I want to plead with you that sit back, withdraw, and recollect to have a narrative that resonates with expectations, so that you tone them down, but also protect people from what you think is an excess of an MD, of a director, of a commissioner. Do not want to join those people. Then who will be for the people? I'll finish that debate. Secondly, how many commissioners do we have in Uganda? Or do you have an idea of the public service?
Estimate.
100,000. So commissioners could be just about 100.
The commissioners or directors are 100. So you want to add on 560 members of parliament so that you are all at the same level of the country's expenditure without checks and balances.
So in short,
so for me, I want to plead with Katesh.
Or with parliament?
Not with Katesh, because he represents the mindset of members of parliament. For heaven's sake, do not compare yourselves
to government people.
Because people expect you to actually check government so that they are protected. So if you have joined the government excesses, who is going to protect the people?
That message has been loud and clear. What about on a sitting?
I support Parliament of Uganda, or indeed the executive, to do outreach programs 100%. What they need to do is to look at the discretion of their judgment on the activities, how they go. But the principle is important, it's relevant. Oscar, I was a student at Makerere in 1994-95 when Uganda was debating the 1995 constitution. I used to walk to the gallery here in Parliament. Today, we have, I think, 54 chartered universities. Even now, when people talk about Northern Uganda, even the Katesh, they talk about Gulu. Gulu is going to be the host. But Northern Uganda is West Nile, there's Upper Nile, Jumani Moy, then there's the lower one, Nebi, Pakwach. Then you're talking about Tulango. It's a big sub-region. So if the center is Gulu City, and for me, I would look at an outreach program. By the way, so the sitting maybe would be the first one, because sitting is different. It's gazetted and it's a debate. There must be answered and stuff. But if it was an outreach, it happened before. The second Kadaga Parliament had outreach programs. I don't know why they stopped. Maybe they were expensive. I don't know. But for them, they used now to draw, if you remember, they would draw councillors from the sub-region. Chairman from Ajumani would now come with these councillors, and then they have what they call a town hall.
That would make sense.
A town hall. That's what the Kadaga. But now this one is different. But for me,
you want to just go and talk.
It is going to be a session, but the one before used to be an outreach and a town hall. Okay. And I think Kadaga did Chigezi the second time. They did one in Chigezi. They did one in Uganda in the islands. and then even in Karamoja. But that one was not a sitting.
Okay.
It was a town hall
Lydia.
outreach. But for me, I support. They just need to not to close their ears to the other issues. Every program must have queries, pros and cons. Respond, explain. It's not a crime to explain. When people ask questions, explain them. But please go ahead and provide leadership and provide oversight. Don't run away from that constitutional right. And reach the people.
Thank
the
you.
president, I'm told, let me just conclude. The president of Uganda, who is the head of the executive, does zonal meetings. I have attended the zonal meeting in Lango, another one in Acholi, but those are not cabinet meetings. They are outreach. They call leaders, we meet, and I think the next ones are starting in Bukedi. I don't know whether OO is aware. There will be Bukedi.
Thank you, Lydia.
So I think it's a good thing, but listen to queries, answer them. Nobody...
You have said, Lydia.
Yeah, you represent people, please speak to the people. And I'm talking to Katesh here in the studio. But I support, please go
Lydia.
And meet the people.
Thank you, Lydia. Some person on X says, Oscar, I'm disappointed by Semuju's simplistic argument. It's not the same people who are marching to parliament that are in Gulu. You don't have to wait for a perfect conditions to do something. Even if a percentage of MPs go to Gulu, it's fine. I would disagree if you all don't go. And then your friend BJ Mano is busy sending messages. He says, medical interns haven't been deployed and not been paid. Minister of Finance reduced the allowance from 2.5 million to 1 million, but haven't paid the 1 million. Total money needed is 18 billion. Learn to prioritize and live within our means. You are on microphone. Should they go to Gulu?
Let me first say on my young brother Katesh. Katesh claims that even those who can't win LC1 election, I'm sure when you were a revenue officer, many people didn't believe
that you could win LC1.
You could defeat a minister. Now today you are here. So please stop that arrogance.
Rhetoric.
No, arrogance. That people who are criticizing you can't win an election or can't. Please. Recently we heard the president of Uganda saying, you're a musician, you play music, why are you coming to run for president? What was the net result? The musician almost overran us. So please stop that arrogance.
You ghetto people don't come.
Yes.
And then they said the ghetto we are coming.
Stop that arrogance. People will come for your seat, and with your degree, with their masters, they will knock you out. The other one is, it is not the public which is keeping parliament in negative light. It is your own conduct, some of your conduct, and how you handle the fallout. If you had listened to wise counsel when they started the exhibition and said, please, we have seen, we are willing to listen to more in a formal way, either appoint a select committee or in other committee to examine whether things were as being exhibited, I think the situation would be different. You would have muted this thing long ago. Recently, when young people said they want to march to parliament, blah, 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 Anita must resign. I don't think Anita, the speaker, receiving the petition from those young people would mean that she has capitulated. There was nothing fatal. If she had said, okay, appoint representatives, we'll receive your petition.
Instead, they're in jail.
You chose to barricade parliament. And you have kept yourself. So please don't blame the public. It is the way, and it is not late by the way, if you change the course. Maybe
if Semuju and another parliament went and said, you get these people out of prison, they only wanted to come to parliament.
Now, for example, when George Sonyonyi, the leader of opposition, comes and says, you are spending 5 billion. We, the ordinary folks out here, we believe the leader of opposition is reputable. So when he says something, we shall believe at first sight. Now, when you go to parliament and the deputy speaker says, but that's not the money. Now, when they say that's not the amount, and then they say how much, you don't want to disclose. What message are you sending? Because I expect the deputy speaker to know the budget. So if Senyonyi is saying 5 billion, you say no. Our budget is the budget for this meeting.
You see, you can't know
listen,
until the sitting has taken place.
Don't heckle. You made your point. You made your point.
You have to budget.
If you don't know
Indeed.
I expect the deputy speaker or the speaker to say the budget, the amount is not 5 million. It is in our books. You members of parliament read the budget for this quarter. It is there, and you can mention the amount. But when you are KG, the public is right to suspect that you are hiding something. Now we come to the real issue you are asking. I have said on another show that outreach program, Parliament evolving its practices is a good thing. And I've said for a region like northern Uganda, which is emerging out of an atrocious war, it is good if an organ of government, an organ of the state like Parliament, goes, even if it is just symbolism, that Parliament, it gives people confidence that Gulu, we are hearing, we're a place of war, place of need, place of extreme want. Members of Parliament can go and sit there for 4 days. They can have hotels to live in. Is a good thing. The other thing, what are this other scheduled, apart from the sitting, what are the other scheduled activities? And members of Parliament have said that their committees are picking out issues relevant to northern Uganda. So that probably I expect that councils of those districts in that region, at least representation will come and they interface with the Parliament directly. The others are things like exhibition, for example, that they can visit. For example, go and visit Unyama Technical, you go and visit a good farmer in Lango, and so on and so forth. Those are good outreach programs that for me I wouldn't fault, outreach programs that I wouldn't fault the Parliament. I disagree with Senyonyi when he talks about the money. In any case, how come when it is travel abroad, they don't say, Senyonyi has been traveling. My brother Semuju here, one time he told us on this show, I think, that Parliament spent money for Muslim MPs, paying for them to go for pilgrimage. I didn't hear somebody saying that's wastage. Then finally, all of us studied basic...
No, they did blame it.
No. All of us studied basic economics. There's something called trickle-down effect. Assuming 500 MPs went there, some with their vehicles, even if they were to go in public buses of Parliament, do you know what it means, 500 MPs and the security detail which is going there, to spend 4 days eating food, even if they were eating just Juakari food, the people there are going to get money. There are people now, I want to believe, who are buying goats to roast good muchomo to do otuo. Otuo, for us, otuo is the smoked meat and in sim and ginat paste. And people are preparing bon, people are preparing malakwang, people are preparing good dishes for MPs. There's going to be a good economic boost. In the world today, we have seen smaller cities in around the world in Europe that actually pay for conferences to come to their cities to improve tourism, to improve other things. I want to believe that there are members of Parliament who will probably make a decision to invest in Gulu or in other parts.
So, in short, it's good to go to Gulu.
It is good to go to
what you have said.
Yeah, but it is the design probably. But the question of money, I don't believe that members of Parliament are out to save Uganda's taxpayers' money. I don't believe them when they say so. It's just a pretense.
Okay. The OO has made submissions, and Lydia has made submissions that the station has allowed me another 2 minutes for conclusion. Katesh, since you are the one who is being bashed,
the principle is good. Let them go.
You see,
hold on. Katesh is now being bashed on social media as well. So let me give you your minute now. 1 minute to finalize.
I don't disagree much from OO, but OO is one of those who have been periodically
bashing Parliament.
And I told him one time that he's allergic. He's allergic to Parliament. No, it's good to hold us. But what I don't like is, banging up Parliament. When you hear a statement like Parliament is useless, it is too big.
Okay.
You know, exactly. So we need
it may not be useless, but it is too big.
Criticism because if this is our institution.
You're not the one going to choose which criticism we send to you.
Then you accept. When we hit back, then you accept.
So, your 1 minute. Thank you, Katesh. Your 1 minute.
Well, I think this is a good debate.
Yeah.
I hope the people opposing the regional sitting in Gulu, because they are mainly NUP leadership, which comes from Uganda. I hope when it comes to going to Masaka, they'll have the same stand.
Yeah, but for them, they've given the reason it's 5 billion. That's the only reason.
So that's superfluous. I don't agree with them.
Honorable Semuju, who is the shadow finance minister, there's an arrow on X telling you, tell Semuju Najira Chira to Bulindo, the roads are bad. I agree. You know that's my village. The road is terrible.
But
okay, that particular road is going to be done. Actually, the contract was signed by people who are
we hope so.
Namugongo, Charwajara, Gayaza Road.
You know that you passed my village area to go home.
There is no village in my constituency.
To tell us, Oscar, to move his burial ground from Nigeria. They should go to Masaka.
You are distorting our urban plan.
Kimanya.
So your 1 minute.
Even Masaka is now a city.
No, I think the time that Parliament is in, you may scale down even on planned activities, especially the ones that are not going to stop you to do the ordinary work of Parliament. Because the moment you appear like you are not listening, you're going to invite more criticism, even when you're doing something good.
Yeah.
So you need to think of the activities. I remember when I had issues in school, I thought they had treated me unfairly, but what my decision was to stay away from campus. I was reading from my dormitory. Because I had people who said, you are stubborn, you do this. So I said, okay, let me keep away from them. And I did for
as a school manager, sometimes someone is suspended from school over a very small thing.
Yeah.
Then I say, but you look at the accumulation of things.
Yeah, so the earlier we think about this better for everybody.
Final word, Lydia. I hope yours is a safe final word.
No, I've said that earlier. I'm consistent. I think Parliament has to go on with their programs. They let them at least agree on minimums. They can't disagree on everything. So I really want whether it's opposition or the guys, they are more or less the same, really. Is there opposition and a ruling party in Parliament? You are the same people. Have a minimum program. Do your thing. We support you. If you are going to go look for a good cause, look at have what they call rational judgment of the decisions, the resources, serve Uganda, really.
Thank you so much, listeners of the Capital Gang. Continue listening to the Capital Gang on our social platforms at Capital FM Uganda, Facebook as well. Star Cafe, thank you for powering the gang. Ofonopondo and your brand new pickup and crazy hat. I'm the one with the microphone now. Thank you so much.
IGP has been stolen. So why are you publicizing?
It was recovered.
Why are you publicizing Ofono's new pickup?
His pickup is well secured.
Can you imagine?
Katesh,
Pickup.
thank you so much for appearing on Gang. Honorable Ibra Semuju, Honorable Lydia Nyota, thank you for appearing on Gang. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and I shall see you next week.